Can you hear me? You can't hear me? Test, test. Test. Can you hear me? Oh, good. Perfect. Well, good morning, everybody. We're live now down at Somerset. We're starting to gather everybody to start the women's and the men's race for the cycling for our Bermuda Day. Bermuda Day is the history actually of Bermuda Day. It's was originally known as Victoria Day or Commonwealth Day. And then in 1979, it actually became our day, Bermuda Day, where we actually celebrate 400 years of history. And my intention today is to actually intertwine some of the history of Bermuda into as we go along the route, because Bermuda has some fascinating history, both good and bad. And really, Bermuda Day at the end of the month of May is a culmination of the heritage of Bermuda. So I think it's fitting that I include some of the interesting history. The theme of this year's Bermuda Day celebrations is actually togetherness. And togetherness, I think, is very apt at this time. Just given everything that's been happening in the world, I think it's marvelous. And I think today we're going to have an amazing day of everybody coming out. I mean, we were driving down to the race start this morning. And the crowds are just incredible already. And I know we had the race last year, but it was perhaps a little bit less people were out last year. And I think this year we're just going to have an incredible celebration of everyone being happy to be outside and just partake in all the festivities that are gonna happen today. There'll be a parade later on after all the races. The first parade was actually in 1979, which was when Bermuda Day actually became our day, Bermuda's Day, as opposed to Commonwealth Day or Victoria Day. My intention this morning is also to try and get a few interviews with our riders. So in the women's race, we have a small field, but nevertheless, it's going to be quite an interesting race, I think. We've got quite a variation of athletes this morning. We've got Caitlin Conyers is actually back for this race today. Caitlin's been racing overseas in the US for most of the year. She's actually been living over there for most of the year, but she had a nasty crash in her last race and was injured. So I think she was a little unsure as to whether she would actually be available to do this race. But she is here, so I would have to say she would be the favorite. But I do think that there are other people in the field that could pose a challenge. We have our returning winner from last year, Nicole Mitchell. Nicole actually won the race last year. And then we've actually got some rising juniors here. Annabelle Miller and Charlotte Millington, both are junior racers who I think, have a very good chance as well today, because it's a very short race. It's only 11 miles. It's a little bit shorter than the running race. So because of the shortness of the race, I think it really does suit, these younger racers. They've been riding for quite a number of years. I think Annabelle is a bit newer, but Charlotte's certainly been riding for quite some time. And they've been doing many of the races, the junior races as well. So I'm just gonna see if I can find a few of our riders. So I'll just go off air just for 1 second, and I'm gonna try and see if we can find some of our female racers to interview. It's an absolute stunning day today as well. I don't think we could ask for nicer weather. Again, I said that last year, but it's like every May Bermuda day, we seem to just be lucky with the weather. It's like the first day of summer. I mean, for Bermudians, it's the first day of summer, right? It's a picture perfect day, blue sky. There was a few clouds this morning, but they seem to have burned off now. We have a little bit of a breeze, about, I don't know, I think it's around 15 miles an hour. Coming from the east, though. So for our riders, it will be a headwind, which could be a little bit of a factor in this race. It's enough that you would feel it. But nevertheless, it's actually the humidity is quite low today. So that's going to be great for, well, for the riders and certainly for the runners today. So let's see if we can get a couple of interviews with our women. Everyone's sort of gathering here. They'll be starting here. Just outside, basically just outside Somerset Cricket Club. Just up, I think you can see Somerset Cricket Club up there. And obviously later on this summer, we're going to have Cup Match up here in Somerset. They won last year. They won Cup Match last year. So yeah, they'll be, Cup Match is going to be up here. And this is where the race starts, just a little bit before the Somerset Cricket Club. I did discover yesterday that Cup Match actually started in 1902, which I think is quite amazing. That's been going on for well over 100 years now. So that's the first little bit of, I guess, history for Bermuda Day. So let's see if we can get a couple of interviews. Everybody's out here. It's just so exciting today. So I have our winner from last year, Nicole. So Nicole, I know you've been doing a lot of training just with Ironmans, and yeah, you've been putting in a lot of hours, but you're back here to defend your title.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know if you can give us just a few kind of words for, you know, how you think today's going to go, and, you know, just, I guess, being able to be out here for today and race.
Yeah, so I mean, it's always a really special day. I'm excited to be on the start line. If I'm on the start line, I'm going to be doing everything that I can to give it my best and, you know, add to my title.
And today I did see there's a couple of juniors in the race that I actually think, I mean, because it's a short race, I'm thinking, you know, it's only like 11 miles. And they've been racing a few of the other races and done quite well. I'm just thinking, you know, they could be sort of outside shots, certainly for a podium anyways.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Charlotte's leader in the women's in the series right now, and Annabelle is like right there behind her. Yeah, I'm definitely not like counting my eggs before they hatch.
Yes, yes.
They're very strong.
Yes, no, exactly. And of course, we have Caitlin back. I haven't seen her yet, but I'm going to try and nab her. But she's back. And I know she had a crash, I guess, for a few weeks ago now. But she is back, and she will certainly be a challenge, I think, even if she is somewhat injured. I think she's gotten over most of her crash, but perhaps a little niggle. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have any comments about, you know, how you think that might play out. She's obviously on, you know, on our, well, I think she is riding for Winner's Edge. She actually does ride for another team in the United States, but she will be riding for Winner's Edge today.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I haven't seen her yet. Obviously, injured or not, like if she's on the start line, she will be a huge force to reckon with. I did speak to her yesterday. She was going to ride down and kind of see how she was feeling. Obviously, she's got, you know, Commonwealth on the horizon, and, you know, does need to think about the bigger picture. But yeah, I mean, hopefully she's here. I think it would give us just also good good chance for her to showcase her talent.
Exactly. Yeah. No, thanks, Nicole. So we'll let you get ready. Yeah, not too long now before we actually get started. So there's a great buzz around here. Everybody's starting to get very excited about the race. We're just trying to see if we can locate Caitlin. Apparently she did ride down, but we haven't seen her as yet. They will be starting just over here by the field. And there will be a little bit of a neutral section at the beginning of the race. So we will just have where they will not be racing. When I say neutral, the neutral section, basically what happens is when the race starts, they do a neutral where nobody races. Everyone stays together behind the truck to sort of the top of the hill up here just by the church. And then effectively the race starts from that point onwards. And that's really done for safety reasons more than anything. I think I see Charlotte over here, and I think we should try and interview one of our little junior racers. Charlotte, hi. I've got Charlotte here, and I wanted to just try and get a few little words from both of our juniors, actually, if I could. So, Charlotte and Annabelle, I know this is your first, I think, Bermuda Day race. So, you guys all excited about racing today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're nervous?
You're nervous, yeah, and it's a short race, I guess. So for you guys, it's a benefit, and I know you've done the crit recently, and you both did very well in that, which I guess was around the same, probably around the same time in terms of time. So yeah, I think all of us are very excited to see you race today, and just hope that you have a marvelous day and enjoy it.
Thank you.
Good luck, ladies. Yeah. So they're starting to pull the men's race together. Yeah, they're going to be starting fairly soon in about 5 minutes for the men. And the women start at 8:22 and men at 8:15. So they're just giving instructions to all the cyclists right now. I don't see Caitlin actually at the start here. So this race could be fairly wide open. I might have to get into the vehicle. We're getting the men's race together right now. And then, of course, we have all the runners over there as well. They're all getting excited. They go off at 8:30. And there's a host of activities going on today with junior races and with the running races. There's a junior cycling race. So, yeah, there's a lot of activity going on, which is fantastic. Of course, then we have the parade afterwards. So just while they're giving instructions for the men's race, I'm just going to give a little bit of a description about the history of the Bermuda Day cycling race. This race is actually called the Sinclair Packwood Memorial Race, and it is named after Sinclair Packwood, who actually won the race in 1992 and 1993. And he was the first person to ever win this race back to back, male champion. Unfortunately, he died at the age of 36 in 1998, and this race was named in his honor as a result of that. In 1987, we had there was actually the first bike race related to Bermuda Day. The running race has actually been going on for, I think, well over 100 years as well, which is also quite an incredible milestone when you think about it. And it's certainly fitting that, we celebrate this on Bermuda Day and part of our history, History Month for May. Women started, it's a bit patchy with our records, and we're trying to actually pull together all the records for the women. I did do this race many times myself. Back when I did the race, there was no separate female race. Sorry about that. Yeah, so the women's race has been going on, I think, since the late or early 1990s. But yes, we're trying to pull together the women's results. Unfortunately, back when I did the race, there was no separate women's race. So it's a little bit difficult finding all the history of the women, I guess, winners. I know I did the race in 2004. I actually placed 7th overall. But as I said, that was the races were combined. It was an open field of men and women. Nowadays, the race is a separate race for women, has been for quite a few years. And we have multiple champions. Caitlin has been the champion in 2019. Nicole, who's in the field, won last year. She's defending her title. And I think given the women that are here, really anyone could win this race. I mean, Nicole has been focusing on Ironmans this year. She's still, she's the defending champion. She's still going to be definitely a favorite for the race. There's also Adriana Penradock, who is a sailor. She did Pan Am Junior Games back in November. I was the chef for that down in Cali, Colombia. And you might think, well, that's a strange going from sailing to cycling. But in fact, Adriana does quite a bit of cycling each week. So I know she's definitely fit for cycling. She might not have done a lot of races, but she's certainly got the fitness and the strength. So this could also be to her benefit. Again, because of the shortness of this race, it's not necessarily related to endurance so much, but more for power at the end of the race. There's some significant hills that are challenging in this race. So, those are times that athletes and cyclists could get dropped on those hills. You need the way the hills are here in Bermuda, they're very short and punchy. So the more power you have, the better. I think the men's race is about to get underway. That's 8:20, and then we will be 2 minutes after that. There's an incredible energy and buzz down here. It's just so great to see the race returning. We're back in Somerset this year. Last year we did the race from St. George's. Obviously we missed 2020. There was no race. So yes, we've reverted back to the alternate route. So 1 year is St. George's and 1 year is Somerset. And we're back in Somerset this year. I don't see Caitlin at the start of this race, so I do not believe Caitlin is doing the race today. When we came through Hamilton this morning to come down to Somerset, there was already so many people coming out to get ready to enjoy the day's festivities. You know, there's going to be the parade later, and all the races essentially are going to be going along Front Street. So all the junior races, they start at different points, the cycling and the running, but they all come along Front Street, and everyone can just cheer on all the people that they know. It's very much a community, family, you know, support day. Everyone just coming together. Again, this theme of togetherness. It's just so awesome. So I just think it's just like a marvelous day for all of Bermuda today. So I'll just run through the riders for the women's race. So we have Nicole Mitchell, who's our 2021 winner. We have Jennifer Lightbourne. She was 6th last year. We have Adriana Penradock, Sarah Ryan, Annabelle Miller, and Charlotte Millington. Now, Annabelle and Charlotte are both juniors, so they're very young. This is their first Bermuda Day race, but they have been racing, as I said, so I think they actually will be very strong in this race today. Unfortunately, Caitlin is not going to be here, I don't believe, today. She did have, as I mentioned before, she did have a terrible crash in California at a race. So I think she's still trying to recover from that. As Nicole said, you know, she's got Commonwealth Games coming up in July. Or I think it's early August for the cycling. So her primary goal is to get fit and ready for that. She can't risk re-injuring or injuring herself further in doing this race. So that has to be her focus. I think they've got a little bit of a delay. Oh no, the men's race has started. So we will be starting the women's race very soon. And as I said, we're going to have a neutral start for the first few hundred meters, getting to the top of the hill by the church there. And then the racing will begin proper. And that's really done just for safety reasons, just to get through the first little bit of town, let the riders settle in. A lot of them, they would have clipless pedals, so trying to get your feet in the pedals. You just don't want any kind of accidents or problems for people when they first start. So, you know, the men's race has not started. There must be some kind of small delay going on. I'm not sure what the problem is. They should have started at 8:20 and they're still not started. So in terms of team tactics today, it's interesting. I'm just looking right now. We've got the two winners edge riders, Annabelle and Nicole. And then we've got Jenny, Charlotte, and Sarah Ryan for Bicycle Works. And then Adriana, who is an independent rider. So there could definitely be some team tactics going on here. You know, 3 against 2. And then Adriana as a single person, they might maybe, yeah, in Adriana's case, they might not focus on her, which actually could be to her advantage. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Cycling is a team sport. It's an individual race, but it's a team sport. So how you interact as a team can oftentimes lead to victories, and that's why it is a team sport, but in the end, you know, just one person is the winner. So we'll be interested to see how that plays out in the women's race today. So I understand that the delay today is because of traffic on the course, and they're trying to just get some cars off the road, I think. Of course, that the roads have to be completely closed, especially for the bike race. They're going to be going at 70 odd kilometers an hour down some of these hills. So yeah, we need to make sure for safety reasons that the roads are completely closed. And so I understand that they have to make sure that that happens. They're a few minutes late, but I think they're getting ready now. I think we're actually good to go. So the men will be starting very shortly, and then we will be just 2 minutes after that. So Annabelle and Charlotte, who are the two juniors, actually won the last race that the Bermuda Bicycle Association had, which was on May 15th. That was actually a criterium, and a criterium is where you do just a short amount of time, like 30 minutes, around a town with lots of and men's race is underway. The men's race is underway, and the women will be going very shortly. And that's what I'm saying. I think that could actually be an advantage because they won that race first and second in the female category. So, you know, they clearly have the punch to get through a 30-minute race. And that's about what this race will be. It'll be around 27, 28 minutes. So Peter Dunn, the president of the Bermuda Bicycle Association, is just giving the instructions to all of the racers, and we will be underway very shortly. Jenny Lightbourne, she was 6th last year. She rides for Bicycle Works. She actually just did a half Ironman in the United States last week, I think less than a week ago. So she might find the hills tough today. It is only a short race, so she should be fine. But yeah, she's going to have that half Ironman in her legs for sure. So we'll be neutral at the start of this. They all look nervous, but very excited. I mean, for the two younger girls, they've never done this race. So, you know, this race is just so exciting. Whether you're cycling it or running it, it's just amazing. And just the atmosphere is incredible. So it's just so great to see. I mean, they're very young. They're 12, 13 years old. But as I said, they actually have quite a lot of experience already on the road race season with cycling. Oh, here we go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Roll on.
And we're off. We're off. The women's race is underway. We will have a neutral section at first. And they're just going to settle in, get ready. This is not about racing. It's just about kind of getting your feet clipped in, thinking about what you want to do when you get over the crest of this hill. We're just going past Somerset Cricket Club, be the hive of activity at the end of August. With Cup Match, yep, which is going to be very exciting. I used to live in Somerset. I bought my first house in Somerset, actually. So it holds a dear and special place in my heart. Always going to be a Somerset fan. I love it when the race is out here. So we're just getting to the top of the hill, and then the race will be underway. We're going to be coming up. The first hill will be Fort Scour Hill. And Scour Hill was actually built in 1860 by the British. And the first bit of history, I guess, is the reason that the fort was built by the British was that they were worried actually about US reprisals after Britain actually supported the South in the Civil War, in the United States Civil War. So that was the reason that Fort Scour was actually built back in 1860. So it's quite a punchy little hill. It's quite steep. It's short, but it's steep. So they're going to come down. They're just about ready to actually, begin racing. Yep. Here we go. And they could just sort of play it easy for the first few miles. But I would expect somebody to try and sometimes it's really hard to stay ahead of these cyclists. We're trying to make sure that our driver goes fast enough. Here we go. And Nicole is leading the charge right now. And we're just going to be coming to the little bit of the downhill before we get into Scour Hill. Scour Hill will be the first test for these women. But I don't anticipate anyone really being dropped at that point. It is the first hill. I think they'll all stay together. And then we will come down into Somerset Drawbridge after that. And Somerset Drawbridge actually dates back to 1620, which is amazing. And it's the smallest drawbridge, the smallest working drawbridge in the world. So they're all together still. Just playing it safe, I think. You just kind of want to get yourself warmed up. And they're at the base of the hill now, coming up. I do think they will all stay together. Sarah is now leading she's just actually putting a little bit of an insertion of pace, I would call it, and Nicole is going with her. There's this tiny little gap forming over Scour Hill. Actually, yes, it is a tiny little gap forming. We'll see if that actually holds. They're going to come flying down this hill. Yeah, the two of them are off. Now they've got a few, not much, maybe a second or two, but sometimes that's all you need is a second or two, to be honest, in cycling. So we're coming down the bottom of Scour Hill now, and we will be hitting the Somerset Drawbridge very shortly. Nicole it's starting to come back already. Nicole has been focusing on Ironmans this year, and I know she's been training a lot. She's certainly incredibly fit right now. But this race, in terms of distance compared to an Ironman, it couldn't be at more of an opposite end of the spectrum. As I said, the race here will only be about 27, 28 minutes. In an Ironman, the cycle portion of the race is 112 miles. So yeah, quite a big difference. Our Team Winners Edge riders are taking turns now. The crowds here are incredible already. It's just so great seeing this. So we're coming up to a little bit of a rise now up through White Hill. Again, it's another hill. I mean, this is definitely a challenging course. One hill after another, I think. So yeah, they're just coming up past Rec Road. And then they'll be hitting White Hill, which is another little punchy hill. And then we have the long sweep down past Port Royal. Sarah Ryan, who is on Bicycle Works, is she's a little bit of an unknown rider. She has been racing a little bit. So she was actually she was 5th in the criterium that was held on May 15th. I know she's definitely got the fitness, so she could also be a little bit of an outsider. I think on the podium, it's very much up in the air with the podium for this race today. We're just coming up to White Hill. The pack is all still together, so they're definitely just waiting to see sort of who makes a move. Adriana Penradock is on the front right now. So Adriana is our young sailor. She was at Pan Am Junior Games and in the international laser class, and she was actually 4th at Pan Am Junior Games, and she very nearly won a medal at those games, which would have been incredible, but 4th was amazing. And as I said, the sailors train an awful lot, and she does do a lot of cycling. She might not have done a lot of racing, but she's done a lot of cycling. And because of the size of the field, I feel that she could still be there. Now we've got a little bit of a break happening right now with Sarah. So Sarah Ryan is off the front. She is off the front from Bicycle Works, coming down White Hill. We're coming past up to Port Royal. Now this could be significant if they don't close this down, which I can see Nicole is trying to close this down now. So our Winner's Edge riders, they must close this down because this is a Bicycle Works rider who's just created an attack off the front. And if she doesn't, if they don't chase this down, then she will get away. And, the other Bicycle Works riders in the group will not do anything to bring Sarah back. That is what is the team element of bike racing. So the riders that are in the group that are chasing, the Bicycle Works riders will not do any work to chase down their own rider. They want to see a Bicycle Works person win the race. So Nicole is on the front right now. I mean, they've not closed this gap down. It's a few seconds, and honestly, a few seconds can lead to a few minutes pretty quickly in cycling. I think it will come back, but the thing is then that Nicole is actually she's expending a lot of energy to bring this break back now. So for her, it's, she has to do it, but for her, she's actually using up a considerable amount of energy, which is why in cycling, the more team members you have in a race, the better, because then you would have other team members that wouldn't be so tired that could then chase the break or go for the win. So we're just coming up, we'll be coming up to Barnes Corner pretty shortly, actually. Sarah is still away, but it looks like they're gonna come back. I see Annabelle Miller from Winner's Edge is now on the front. Again, the Winner's Edge riders have to do everything they can to bring this back. The crowds are out. Everybody's just enjoying the day. It's just so great. It's definitely cooler today. So for the runners, this is going to be amazing. Even for the cycling, it's pretty awesome. Sarah is still right now. The other thing that Winner's Edge could be doing is sort of leaving her out there a little bit to work hard, leaving Sarah out on the front, because then she's also expended a lot of energy. So then at the end of the race, you know, she'll be more tired. So that's kind of also a little bit of a team tactic that you see in cycle races. Nicole is about to bring this all back together. We'll be coming around the corner into Barnes Corner fairly soon. I anticipate a pretty healthy crowd at Barnes Corner, which will be great. They're probably just past Barnes Corner. They'll be about halfway. And here they've just passed Sarah. They've just caught her, and they're all still together. So the race is not broken up yet, even though they tried to on the last hill. So I would anticipate that certainly at Birdhouse Hill, they're going to try another attack. I mean, basically, if you know you're not a sprinter, you would want to attack on a hill and try and get away. And then you secure your win or podium, because if you're not as strong on the sprinting, and it's a group that comes down at the end, then the sprinter wins. And in cycling, a lot of times, like, the sprinters aren't necessarily like, well, they're not necessarily the overall strongest cyclist in the group, because it's a different set of muscles. It's a different strategy for sprinting. So we're coming up to Barnes Corner, which is just like, you can hear all the music. Oh my gosh, this is so awesome. This is amazing. It's just amazing today. Oh my goodness, awesome. Yeah, really good crowds this year. There's Argus, the big Argus tent, through the sponsors for the running race. Yep, they're all together still. I think they're going to stay together until the next hill. We're going to hit the hill by Wood-a-Lot, which is small, but that then leads into our Burnt House Hill. So Burnt House Hill, I was reading the history about Burnt House Hill, which is quite fascinating as well. It's actually called Burnt House Hill because back in February 2nd, 1859, there was a fire that started in a house, Samuel Tackleton Jr.'s house, and 4 young children actually perished in that fire. Again, you can hear all the crowds here. Really good turnout of people. It looks like Charlotte Millington from Bicycle Works is now putting in a little bit of an attack herself. She's our junior rider, which is amazing. So she is confident enough to actually go and try an attack. I mean, this is just marvelous to see, because as a junior, this is what you have to learn. You have to learn to do this. And it's just so great to see her actually attacking herself. It hasn't really led to anything at this point, but it's great. Actually, a couple of people dropped off the back. So we might have only, I think it's only 4 now in this little breakaway, and 2 off the back. So we have 2 Bicycle Works riders and 2 Winner's Edge riders currently in a small break, if this break holds. So we're coming up into Wood-a-Lot Hill. Our 2 dropped riders, I think they're going to come back on. But again, they'll be expending a lot of energy doing this. So each time that you have to come back from being dropped, it makes it harder and harder to get back into the group. So yeah, going back to Burnt House Hill, so the remnants of this burnt house actually remained, it remained a burnt cinder for many years. And then an American actually purchased the house in 1930, and he called it Burnt House as a result. So that was the history of, I've always wondered why Burnt House Hill was called Burnt House Hill. So there you go, a little bit of Bermuda history there. So our riders are all together still. They've actually come, the other 2 riders have come back. Nicole is on the front again. It's on that little straight, we're on the straight section leading into Wood-a-Lot Hill. And we will have a little bit of a rise on Wood-a-Lot Hill. And then of course we're gonna have Burnt House Hill. And I would anticipate that Burnhouse Hill will actually create a breakaway. Burnhouse is a tough hill. It's very steep at the bottom, and then it sort of is a little bit easier in the middle, and then it's quite steep at the end. And then you have like great sweeping, you know, sort of false flat and little descent along Harbor Road, which just makes for great speed coming out of Burnhouse Hill. It's still all together. Nicole is driving this though, so I guess she's gonna have to be a little bit careful because if this comes down to a sprint, she's going to be using a lot of her energy. Charlotte is being very clever and actually sitting in behind Nicole. I mean, Charlotte has not done this race, and Nicole has won this race, I think, more than once. At least she's the defending champion. She's certainly been on the podium many times, so she knows how to race this, whereas Charlotte, you know, doesn't really have the experience. And Annabelle, our young junior from Winner's Edge, is also right there. In fact, the two juniors are off the front now, going over the hill. Sometimes when you're young, you have an incredible power to weight ratio that makes these young youth riders very strong on the hills. The downside for them is that they have what you call junior gearing. So the International Federation has very strict guidelines on how the gearing setup is to work for junior racers. And the theory for that is, of course, you want children, it's children's safety, essentially. You don't want them pushing too hard gears. They're just developing their bones, their bodies. So that makes it harder for them when it comes to a sprint or it comes to a downhill, because they have less big gears to push. So that's it's a significant disadvantage actually for our junior racers. But again, I think they're somewhat of an advantage on the uphills because they're much smaller, and that power to weight ratio would be quite high, which allows them to get over the hills, you know, with a high cadence and quite quickly. They're all together. We're going to be coming into Burnhouse Hill very soon. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. We're just coming past Marketplace here, and the crowds again are awesome. They're going so fast, sometimes it's just hard to stay up front in the truck. Adriana is now on the front. So yeah, she's clearly not afraid to get out front and give it a go here. Like I said, she hasn't raced a lot, but it's a small field. So, you know, she's feeling strong. She rides and trains a lot in cycling. So we're going to be making the left onto Burnhouse Hill now. And I do think someone will try and make an attack. They're all together going up into the hill, but this will be a challenge. This hill will definitely be a challenge. So Charlotte is out front with Annabelle. The two juniors are leading this with Nicole just sitting right in with them. That's a smart move as well. And Charlotte is really, honestly, Charlotte is driving the pace, and we're actually coming up to some of the men. We're actually passing some of the men on the course right now. Good crowds here on Burnhouse Hill as well. Nicole has gone to the front. Yep, she is her, and Charlotte is right behind her. I think, and they're actually coming across even more cyclists, men in the men's race. They're going to be coming down this hill very, very quickly in a minute. There's 4, I think we've got our group of 4 again. Yes, the group of 4 for the women. Nicole and Charlotte have a very tiny little gap right now coming off the hill, and this could be a move, which is what I was thinking what might happen in this race. Annabelle is trying to come back up to them, which would mean there would be 2 Winner's Edge riders and 1 Bicycle Works rider. But right now it's just Nicole and Charlotte who've got a little bit of a gap, and they are trying, the other 2 are trying to come up on them. Obviously, they would want to come back. It's not that big a gap, so you're going to have, because it's 2 and 2 right now. You got 2 Winner's Edge riders and 2 Bicycle Works riders. So I think, yeah, they're all going to come back together. So right now we've got a group of 4. There's some of the men that we're actually passing, so it can be a little bit confusing right now. Nicole is actually driving this at the front, and Charlotte is sitting right behind her. We've got this nice little kind of downhill section along Harbor Road, which is just, you get great speed. They're going to have great speed coming up into Inverary Hill. Like I said, it's a little bit of a breeze, so it's about 15 miles an hour from the east. So they have the wind right in their face. So for anyone who is on the front, they're creating an advantage for all the riders behind them because they're breaking the wind. So for Nicole, she's actually using quite a bit of energy by being out front. And that's the advantage of this drafting. So if you actually sit behind the person out front, you save a significant amount of energy. So it'd be at least 20% energy by sitting behind somebody while they break the wind. And 15-mile-an-hour wind is not nothing. It's coming straight at them. It's still the 4. So we've got 4. I think we're going to get the podium is going to come from these 4 riders. And we'll see if any additional breaks happen. I mean, there's really only 1 more hill at Inverary. So yeah, that will be the only other kind of opportunity they might have to try and break up this little group of 4. We did continue to pass men along the way. So they started actually 2 minutes ahead of the women. So these are riders that have just fallen off the group, the men's group. So Nicole again continues to just lead this race. They're coming up to the little bit of a rise here before we get to Inverary. We're coming past Belmont Dock. And the 4 of them are still, who I see at the back is Sarah and Annabelle are sitting back behind and letting Nicole do all the work. I mean, this is for Bicycle Works. This is obviously an advantage for them because they're just sitting behind and letting Nicole do all the work. And we'll be coming up into Inverary in a minute. And at that point, we could have a little bit of again, an attack. And then we will be heading into town. I mean, once we get up over Inverary, then it's a nice sweeping downhill all the way into town. And then really they'll be starting to think about the sprint at the end. Just great crowds out here today. Such an amazing atmosphere. I think everyone's just so relieved to be able to have events and be able to celebrate, our very special day here, Bermuda Day, where all of the community comes out and everyone just feels a part of the incredible history of Bermuda. And we all celebrate everything about being here, being Bermudian and being here in Bermuda. I mean, we are such a very fortunate country in many ways, and it's just so marvelous to see everybody coming out together on a day like today. Just everybody. I mean, everybody just comes out at the end of their driveway and comes and watches all the festivities for the day. The runners would have already started. So in the bike race now, we've got Nicole. She's trying to drive up this hill, but she is not dropping anybody. But she is really trying to drop people because again, in this 4, You know, there's only podium is only 3, so they know that someone in this group is not going to get on the podium. So they know that. So we're coming off the hill, and it's still a group of 4. So honestly, I actually think this will stay as a group of 4 until we get into town and into a sprint. So this could be just a sprint finish. Now we're going to be coming up to Crow Lane fairly soon, and I anticipate the crowds will be amazing at Crow Lane, and we start to get into town. People were putting out their marks on Front Street for their spots to sit and enjoy the festivities for the day. They're putting their spots out, you know, at least a week ago. I think more than a week ago. So I expect good crowds all as we start to get into town. In terms of history, I was reading about Crow Lane and the history of Crow Lane. It's more the unhappy part of Bermuda's history, but we all need to, you know and understand the history of Bermuda. So Crow Lane is actually part of the African diaspora, and it is actually where Sally Bassett, the enslaved woman, was burnt. She was actually burnt at the stake at Crow Lane in 1730. And legend actually has it that she said that there will be a sign after she was burned. There would be a sign that she would be vindicated, that she was innocent. And legend has it that that the Bermudiana flower grew out of her ashes where she was burned at the stake, and that the Bermudiana flower flourished at that point. So that's I thought that was quite interesting history about Crow Lane. I did not know that. So yes, they're coming down. Harbor Road will be coming to Crow Lane fairly soon. So there will be very, very good crowds there. Annabelle is actually taking it out for Winter's Edge in our group of 4, coming down through Harbor Road on this beautiful day. I think there's going to be lots of people out on their boats today, enjoying the day. We've only got the group of 4. And in terms of the sprinting, I wouldn't want to call this because I don't know a lot about Sarah Ryan. She has been racing. She was 5th, and as I said, in the criterium on May 15th. But in that criterium, both Annabelle, Charlotte won it, and Annabelle was 2nd, and they were in a sprint together. I haven't seen, Nicole has not been racing a lot, so it's difficult to say how she would stack up against these other 3 riders. As I said, she's been doing Ironmans, so I don't know how her sprint will compare to the other 3. Obviously they've been practicing in the races. We had a road race on April 24th. Annabelle was actually 4th in that race. So that would have been a longer race. So the road race would have been a longer race. I'm benchmarking the possibility of the podium based on the criterium race that Bermuda had, that we had on May 15th. So we're coming up to Crow Lane very soon. We're just gone past the vet there on the corner. And then they're going to be starting to think about this sprint. There's a couple of tricky little corners to negotiate in town. And they could actually, I think they're playing a little bit of cat and mouse now because they want to save their energy. So in sprinting now, if you know there's going to be a sprint, you basically will try and save your energy. You're going to let other people do the work so that you have the maximum amount of energy to initiate a sprint at the end of the race. And that's, I think, is what's going on now. So we're now at Crow Lane. Just fantastic crowds coming into town. Everyone's just so excited. They're here for the day. And our ladies are coming through Front Street, and then they're going to make the right at Crow, at the corner of Queen and Front Street. Again, there are a few technical corners as we come into Front Street. So again, with the two youngsters who just did so well in the criterium race here in Bermuda, this will be, they're to their advantage. They are part of the junior program that the Bermuda Bicycle Association run. They practice all their corners. They practice sprinting. They're very comfortable on their bikes because the junior program affords them that chance to develop all those skills. So they're going to be very good at that. Our two adult riders, they are still very good and capable riders, but the junior riders, they do this. When you do this when you're very young, you get very good skills in cornering, and the corners will be important at the end here. We're going to turn right onto Queen Street, then we're going to make another sharp right onto Church Street, and then we go over to Cedar Avenue. And then it's a straight shot, and it's actually a little bit of a downhill sprint. So again, unfortunately for the junior riders, the junior racers, that is a significant disadvantage because their gearing does not allow them to have a very high, hard gear setup. So they're going to basically run out of real estate. Because they won't have any, they're just going to be spinning with no power to come out because it's a downhill, and the adult riders have a different gearing setup. So we're down here on Front Street now. Oh my gosh, everyone's got their tents out. It's just absolutely packed on Front Street. So great to see. Everybody is out today. I think just with the last 2 years of the pandemic, it's just people, like I said, I just think people are so happy to be able to come out and enjoy all this today. So we've made the right coming up Queen Street. They're starting to get their sprint legs together. We've got three now. Sarah has been slightly gapped up here on Queen Street. So we have two Winners Edge riders and one bicycle work rider. Charlotte is just sticking to Nicole's wheel like glue. I think Nicole has got a slight gap now on Charlotte. Yes, she has, enough that it might make a difference. And we're going to come down to Cedar Avenue. And Nicole, I believe, is going to take this. Yes, she is. Nicole is going to take this sprint. Charlotte is going to be second. And Annabelle is going to be third, I believe. We're still haven't quite finished yet, but Nicole is definitely going to win this. Yes, Charlotte is second and Annabelle is third. Amazing. Two juniors, second and third. And Nicole actually defends her title. Sarah is fourth. Sarah Ryan is fourth. I will go off air for just a minute. I'm going to see if I can get some interviews with the ladies. Amazing race. Awesome. Hi. Oh, sorry. You go. Yeah, I'm trying to get a little interview with Nicole. She's just doing another interview right now, but I see Charlotte over here. So Charlotte, amazing. You were second today, junior. Tell me a little bit about the race. I could see that you guys got that little bit of a gap and you got the four of you just over Burnhouse Hill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got the gap with the Burnhouse, and then up to Men's Road, we got another gap with just Paul and Annabelle, I think, has a bit of a gap to Sarah. And then I tried to go up Queen Street, and Nicole tried to go as well. I just think Annabelle got the wrong line with her. Otherwise, she would have got me.
Yeah, I saw you guys. You just tried to stick on Nicole's wheel, and then she just got a little bit of a gap. And I know you I was explaining to all of our viewers that you have junior gearing. So for
I got
you,
the
it's a
headaches of
downhill
live
sprint
streaming,
finish, so it's a little tougher.
Yeah, downhill cross tailwinds, and we're going to spin out on Nicole. So there's no way we can beat her in a sprint.
Yeah, you did amazing today. Junior, second, and third, just awesome. Well done. Thank you, Charlotte. So I have Annabelle, who was third today, our other junior. Annabelle, I know you had a little bit of a break. I was just interviewing Charlotte, and then it was really just the three of you that came up off over Queen Street. So yeah, it was very close, but you must be very happy for the race today.
I'm very happy. This was my first race and big race at that, and it was just a lot of fun. And I'm actually really excited for next year to see what I can do better.
Oh yeah, no, it's just been amazing to see both of you ride today and race. You're both juniors and your first Bermuda Day race. And it was just amazing to see, and your future is just incredibly bright for both of you. Well done. Yeah, well done. Yeah. All right, so I've got Nicole here, our winner, repeat winner, which is awesome. I'm not sure how many times that's actually happened for the women. Maybe done it, yeah. It doesn't happen often. It's very hard to defend things. So yeah, no, it was great watching it. But I know you had the juniors, the two juniors, right there with you at the very end as well. Just how did it go? How did it play out today for you?
It was a hard race.
We're good to end it?
I think the numbers being small as well, you really had to be super attentive and follow everything. the juniors and Sarah Ryan put in some,
Yep.
really hard attacks.
Mhm.
So, yeah, just.
I mean, we could see that you were coming up on some of the men, so I knew the race. It was a good hard race today, even though the field was small. And it certainly looked like you did a lot. I mean, everyone seems to be doing a lot of work, but yes, Sarah was also there right at the end. There was 4, and then it came down to 3 at the end there. But the little juniors, I mean, it's a little bit of a disadvantage, I guess, for them with their junior gearing. But yeah, is it not great to see, just like thinking that this is the future of cycling in Bermuda?
Oh, definitely. It's great to be riding with them. I hope to impart some of my knowledge onto them, but they have some great mentors across the cycling community. It's really great to see our junior programs succeeding the way it is.
Great. Well done, Nicole. That was really amazing today. Repeat winner. Awesome. Yes. And we're ending the broadcast now, so thank you very much for listening, everybody. Bye.